Will it be a past winner or a first-time champion lifting the trophy in Rwanda? We preview the 2016 CHAN finals. With the latest sports news from Africa and beyond, this is Match Points. I'm Lindy Mtongana. Here's what's also coming up this half hour. Why a group of refugees are putting aside their hardships and setting their sights on the Rio Olympics. And one of Super Rugby's most successful franchises in a series of coaching clinics in Zimbabwe. Well, this Sunday is the final of the 2016 African Nations Championship, and it pits first-time finalists Mali against the winners of the initial tournament, DR Congo. Now, Mali have defied expectations in a run to the final, while Congo will have one last test, knowing that they will be without several influential players like Keletia Luvumbu and Padubopunga. Here's what the coaches had to say ahead of that title-deciding match.
People had low expectations of us, a country without a major league but many talented and ambitious players. Thanks to that, we are now in the final. It is a great responsibility, we know, but we will fight as hard as we can to overcome the task ahead. It won't be easy because the opponent ahead is a great footballing nation.
Ça nous concerne pas du tout.
It is none of our business whether people consider us favorites or not. When we enter the pitch, we'll have an opponent, and we have just as many opportunities as our opponents to win it. Now, people have named us favorites. I do not play that. We will go into this match with a desire to win, but before the match, we are at 50-50. Mali is a good team. When we watched them, we knew how good they are, big players.
Well, for the latest on the CHAN finals, we're now joined live from Kigali by CCTV's Mahia Mutwa. Mahia, of course, just tell us, this is a very important final. What are analysts predicting might happen, and what's the build-up been like?
Well, Indy, I can tell you that the build-up has been swelling ever since the tournament got underway. We've been here, plenty of fans from all over the place. Rwandese fans have been very supportive of this tournament. Fans from DR Congo especially have made their voices known, especially after the semi-final. When their team made it through to the final, they thronged this place, and plenty more are expected here at the 30,000-plus Amahoro Stadium behind me tomorrow. Analysts, as far as what will happen tomorrow, is anybody's guess, but most people's money is on DR Congo. Of course, they have won the tournament before, the first edition in 2009 in Cote d'Ivoire. Mali have been a bit of a dark horse in this tournament. They've beaten a lot of big names to get here. Just getting out of the group phase was a bit of luck for them, having drawn 2 matches, but they've made their intentions strong. They're now in the final, and it could be anybody's game on Sunday.
Well, as you say, Rwanda, of course, out of the competition. But tell us, do you think they will continue to throng to the stadium and show support and sort of make sure that there's a great turnout for the final?
Well, we have been speaking with a few Rwandese fans here during the semi-final where DR Congo was playing Guinea. It was anybody's guess as to who they were supporting, knowing, of course, that DR Congo knocked their team out. A lot were gracious enough to say that they were throwing their support behind DR Congo. But in that match, when Guinea got a foot in, they eventually equalized in that match. A lot of the Rwandese fans were supporting them. Sunday's final, it's going to be fun to watch for everybody involved. A lot of free-flowing football expected, and the fans are in for a treat.
Well, Mahia, let's turn to football administration matters briefly. Of course, the FIFA presidency race is on the go. What's motivated CAF now to endorse Sheikh Salman as their preferred candidate when there are African candidates in the race?
Indeed, Lindy, that is the question on everybody's lips. Of course, you have to remember that all the FIFA presidential candidates have been here in Kigali during the duration of this tournament. They have made presentations to the CAF board. Of course, Jérôme Champagne, Gianni Infantino, Sheikh Salman, and Tokyo Sekwale. All 4 of them have made bids and tried to persuade the CAF leadership. But of course, the announcement coming on Friday that CAF would be throwing their support behind Sheikh Salman. That is a big blow, especially for the only African candidate, as you said, Tokyo Sekwale. The 54 federations are now likely to throw their support behind Sheikh Salman, which probably does put an end to Tokyo Sequale's bid for now.
Well, thanks very much for that. Mahe Mutwa live for us there in Kigali. Now, staying in Rwanda, the country's national football team is undergoing a form of renaissance under coach Johnny McKinstry. The team reached the furthest they've ever gone at a major tournament during the ongoing African Nations Championship on home soil. It recently also jumped 6 places to 85th in the FIFA World Rankings. Well, Mahe met with the young coach who is making waves in Rwanda.
The host nation Rwanda may be out of the CHAN tournament, but for head coach Johnny McKinstry, that doesn't mean it's time to sit back and relax. We find the Northern Irishman and his team hard at work assessing their tournament, looking for areas to improve the side. Overall, though, he is pleased with the team's efforts that saw them reach the quarter-finals.
I think overall the team have done well. As with any tournament, there's areas we feel we could have improved on, and in fact that's what we're going through now this week. Since we went out in the quarterfinals, it wasn't a case of people going on holiday, it's a case of the staff sitting down and sort of reviewing all of our performance, looking at the data and the statistics and the video again to try and see what we could improve on. But overall, I think we've taken it up a level.
Upper level indeed, as their placing at this year's edition is the furthest that the East African side has reached in a major tournament. But with an Africa Cup of Nations two-legged qualifier against Mauritius ahead, the 30-year-old tactician wants to keep the ball rolling.
But now the importance is not to lose the momentum. Obviously hosting a tournament like CHAN, it's very natural that there's a lot of investment and there's a lot of focus on the national team, because when you don't have to qualify, you can really focus on the performance at the tournament. Now, what we've got to make sure is, even though we're out of this tournament, that we keep the momentum up, that the support from government, from the federation for the national team, that the work rate of everybody, not just the players and staff, but everyone who adds into the national team sort of development, that everyone really keeps going.
CHAN continues to grow from strength to strength despite missing out on the crowd-pulling talents of players in the European leagues. The high numbers of supporters attending matches is testament to that, while also giving players who wouldn't normally get a chance the opportunity to represent their national side.
I think it's hugely important for the development of the game in Africa. It being locally based players, the domestic players, is huge for them because it allows them to go into the shop window almost, whether that's for potential transfers to bigger leagues within Africa or maybe even outside to Europe or Asia or the Americas. So it really is, you know, I'm very pleased with the tournament and how it's growing. This tournament in Rwanda, we've seen a number of young players. So there's young players here who this tournament will have been a really good sort of experience for them, and it'll allow them to take the next step in their career.
The Amavubi went out to eventual finalists DR Congo, who face Mali in the final. So what does he expect come Sunday?
It's going to be a very interesting game. The Mali team is quite a young team, similar to us in many ways. They've obviously got good experience for young players, having finished second at the Under-20 World Cup and third at the Under-17 World Cup. So those young players have experience of playing in finals and semi-finals, so that's going to be a big help to them on Sunday. The DR Congo have some very experienced players. Like, you look at their central defenders, their captain, you know, some of the players right throughout their team. There's a lot of experience of going quite deep into the CAF Champions League and CAF Confederations Cup. So two teams who are very different from each other, but I think we're going to be in for an interesting game.
For now though, Johnny McKinstry remains the man leading this budding young team to new heights as Rwandese football looks to the future. Mahe Mutwa, CCTV, Kigali, Rwanda.
Now, the slow pace of preparations for the 2016 Women's African Cup of Nations has led to fears that Cameroon could be in line for some deadline pressures ahead of the November showpiece. But Cameroon authorities have allayed these fears, saying they're well within schedule.
As the countdown towards the Continental Women's Championships continues, the sight of new stadium seats, green carpet lawns and erected goalposts betray the soft underbelly of the preparations. Host Cameroon had earmarked February as the beginning of the test matches phase of the stadia, with most of the facilities to be used during the November tournament being in the final stages of preparation. But football fans are unfazed by the apparent delay. The stadium is good. It's excellent. Looking at what they've done with the stadium, it really encourages the youth to go on with the sport.
Two towns, Yaoundé and Limbe, have been selected to play host to the competition. The new 20,000 capacity Omnisport Stadium in the Ngeme neighborhood of Limbe is ready for use. A delegation from the Confederation of African Football was recently in Cameroon for inspection in the city of Limbe ahead of a friendly match between South Africa and Cameroon.
Following the discussions we had with the inspector, I think the report is good. In terms of hotel infrastructure, all is well. While he was here, he visited hotels in Limbe. Therefore, in terms of hotels, we have no problem.
A total of 8 teams will take part in the tournament in November as Cameroon also readies itself to host the 2019 Men's African Cup of Nations. Leslie Marungu, CCTV.
A 4-year-long ban that has been keeping Egyptian fans out of football matches could end soon. Here's Adel Al-Marouki with more.
Al Ahly allowed the Ultras fan group to enter their stadium to mark the 4th anniversary of the Port Said football riots. Their memorial this year, however, shocked the country. They insulted the Interior Ministry, the former chief of the Military Council, and demanded that he be hanged. Such rage has never been seen before. It drove the Egyptian president to take a wise step to reduce that tension.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's initiative is extremely important. Its timing was very important. Some have been accusing the Ultras of being a terrorist group or foreign funded. The president's approach to them dismisses all these accusations because he is asking for dialogue with these groups. It should produce a solution to end the crisis between the Ultras and the government.
The President Initiative will give room for 10 representatives from the Ultras to join the ongoing investigations on the Port Said riots. He also insisted of starting a dialogue with such groups. On their online webpage, the Ultras has welcomed the President's recommendations and said tension will be reduced.
It's a normal reaction from the Ultras. They couldn't have rejected such an offer from the president. Instead, they released a statement saying they will put the country's interests first and that they wish to come back to the stadiums. But first, they must know who are the real perpetrators in the Port Said massacre, which was the darkest incident in the history of football in Egypt.
Ultras accuse security forces of poorly protecting the stadium back in 2012. They hold the police responsible for the death of their colleagues. That has led to several clashes after the tragic incident, forcing the government to ban fans in general. El-Sisi's initiative, however, is expected to speed up the repeatedly delayed promise for their return.
These victims were the reason why football fans have been banned from entering the stadiums for 4 years now, and all the government's efforts to bring them back has failed during that period. But after that time, it seems that these same 72 people will be the main reason to bring fans finally back. Adel Mahroui, CCTV, Cairo.
Time now for a short break. Here's what's still to come from the sporting fields. Why a group of refugees are putting aside their hardships and setting their sights on the Rio Olympics. And one of Super Rugby's most successful franchises in a series of coaching clinics in Zimbabwe. Well, some much needed good news now for Africa's refugees. Millions in recent years have fled their homes from conflict, repression and poverty, and many lose everything along the way, while others are confined to cramped refugee camps. But the International Olympic Committee is ensuring one big opportunity remains open. CCTV's Celestine Caronet has more.
The road to the Olympic Games can mean years of preparation, determination and anxiety. For this group of athletes, there are even more hurdles. They are refugees. To compete at the Olympics is a dream held by every athlete. But sometimes countries may not be able to send athletes to the Olympics for one reason or another. This is where the IOC comes in, helping such athletes participate as independent athletes. James Nyak is one such athlete. Originally from Unity State in South Sudan, he has lived for 13 years at the Kakuma refugee camp in northwest Kenya.
This interest of running, I get it when I was in primary school. So my games teacher, he was every time, if I try to run, he give me that motivation. And I see it's like now I can make it.
Nyak is among a group of over 20 refugees taking part in a special training program outside the capital, Nairobi. It's a partnership between the International Olympic Committee, Tekla Rupe Foundation and the UN's Refugee Agency.
These refugees, as much as they're living in Kenya and they're living in the camps, they are traumatized, they've gone through a lot of bad experiences. These are people who have been doing very many good things back in their countries. These are people with talents. These are people who, when given the chance, they will go far.
We're doing the same all around the world, trying to identify athletes in refugee camps, in refugee conditions, because we believe that this very increasing problem is something that probably sport can do something. Not for sure, not solving the problem, unfortunately, but through the sport, at least we can give hope to some people.
To win a ticket to Rio, they need to put in a lot of work.
They came to us without any knowledge of how to train, and we had to start from the basics. Now they are improving and we have been introducing new techniques as we go along. My prayer is that we can send at least 4 to 10 athletes to Rio.
And even if just one of them makes it, in a way, it is a victory for them all.
I'll be very happy, and also it helped me also, maybe sometime, maybe those guys who are providing us those things or who have brought us here in this project can also let some other people to come and training also, so that people may develop their talents.
Winning an Olympic medal may seem an impossible dream, but in sport, stranger things have happened. For now, it is enough they have the chance to go to Rio. That could be the first step in changing their lives. Celestine Caronet, CCTV, in Ngong, Kenya.
Now, meanwhile, a visiting delegation of International Olympic Committee has asked Kenya to get its national anti-doping body working as soon as possible. The East African country, known for its prowess in long-distance running, has witnessed a rise in positive doping tests over the last 5 years. In 2015, Rita Jeptu, the country's leading female marathoner, was handed a 2-year ban and stripped of a number of major city marathon titles. Early this week, the IOC's Deputy Director General, Perumiro, met with the Kenyan sports officials from the government and national associations, where he emphasized the need to ensure a clean sport. The world of track and field is currently embroiled in an image crisis after high-ranking IAAF officials were accused of covering up rampant doping in Russia.
What we cannot tolerate is that people in general see the sport as only a kind of game that can be arranged in some manner, can be manipulated. This is not possible, and because of this we need to put everything that's in our hands to solve this problem. And to have the proper control systems in every country is needed. Because of this, we need really this national anti-doping agency in Kenya working as soon as possible.
To rugby now, Japan's women's sevens rugby team, the Sakura Sevens, were put through their paces in the rain by their coach at a sports stadium on the outskirts of Tokyo on Friday morning as the squad starts its final push in preparation for the 2016 Olympic Games. Now, the practice session is part of a training program that began on January 19th and includes stretches, sprints, passing, tackling and mock matches. The program includes a total of 11 such training sessions a day. 14 players, including vice-captain Makiko Tomita, participated in the training, where they were seen running fiercely and tackling without hesitation during their mock matches.
This team first began competing at the Hong Kong Sevens soon after the 2011 disaster. Since that competition, we have played for 4 years with a sense of responsibility that we represent Japan even amidst the chaos caused by the disaster. We've always aimed to get the gold medal at Rio, and we're finally here. So the athletes and the staff are very happy.
Well, time now for another quick break. Here's what we have when we return. One of Super Rugby's most successful franchises in a series of coaching clinics in Zimbabwe. South African rugby outfits, the Blue Bulls and Cheetahs, are limbering up for the new season with an exhibition match in Zimbabwe. The two teams will kick off their campaigns in an expanded competition featuring 18 teams on the weekend of February 26th.
Not since the early 1990s have Zimbabweans seen such high-profile rugby players in their own country. Back then, the Zimbabwe national rugby team used to participate in the South African provincial circuit. But the local game has struggled in recent times, and the gulf between it and its southern neighbor has widened. So it's no wonder that a visit by one of Super Rugby's most successful franchises is the talk of the town. But this visit was more than just about the warm-up, with a series of coaching clinics held for players at the grassroots. The junior clinics are helping popularize the game to previously marginalized communities and also helping those already playing the game get better. The sponsors hope the investment will yield the right results. Maybe not now, but at some point in the future.
The motive really is more than the brand. The motive is national development. The motive is investing into the potential that Zimbabwe has got. Because, you know, if these kids succeed, then it will be good for our business. So it's a very long-term approach that we have.
And it's not just the young ones who are getting the most out of the interaction.
And it's fun for us as well, you know, and the professional environment, you know, it gets tense sometimes and you forget to enjoy rugby and you sometimes forget that passion that you had for the game. So it's good to touch base again with that inner child, if I can put it that way.
The National Stadium, accustomed to football matches, will be seeing very different action this weekend.
Well, the turf here has been extended with a new patch added so this stadium can accommodate a rugby match, perhaps the biggest Zimbabwe has ever seen, and one that rugby fans hope will be the first of many. Farai Mwakutuya, CCTV, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Well, times have been tough for the Southern Kings. Financial problems, players and coaching staff leaving have crippled the Eastern Cape team. The South African Rugby Union was forced to step in and rescue the beleaguered rugby team, and since then things are back on track with a new head coach, new players and a new sense of belief, as C.S. du Plessis now reports.
The Southern Kings are back. The troubled rugby franchise returns to Super Rugby after a 2-year absence to take on the best teams the Southern Hemisphere has to offer. The Port Elizabeth outfit have been stepping up their preparations for their opening match, which is just over 3 weeks away, and coach Dion David says that despite a late start, the team is focusing on getting the basics right for their first encounter.
Our squad is assembled of there's a couple of senior players, but a lot of them are young guys who's got that passion and drive to test themselves against the best of the world. And I think if we can carry that energy into the competition and we keep our focus on what we can do and try to improve week in and week out, I think then we will enjoy the competition.
The squad of players refer to themselves as a band of brothers who have overcome so much in order to pursue their dream of playing Super Rugby. Hooker Edgar Maratule says being back in one of the world's toughest rugby competitions is a dream come true.
It's my absolute dream. It's my absolute dream to play Super Rugby. It's my absolute dream to play amongst friends and to play in my backyard with my friend, with my family here behind me. I'm really, really excited for it. Definitely feel good. I think the Eastern Cape deserves Super Rugby, and it's about time. So very, very excited for the region and even just for the team in Super Rugby.
For the head coach, playing their opening match on home turf at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium will be a massive advantage and something that will fire up his squad of vastly inexperienced players as they take on the former three-time Super Rugby runners-up, the Sharks.
I would like to see it as an advantage. I know it's going to be some huge pressure and stuff, but that's part of the game. I think it would be a lovely opportunity for the players to play in front of their own fans. So we hope that supporters will come in their numbers. We play for them and we hope they will support us and enjoy it as much as we will.
The Southern Kings have had to overcome all sorts of obstacles en route to Super Rugby in 2016. The men from Port Elizabeth faced not being paid for 3 months. Now the South African Rugby Union has stepped in to rectify matters, and overall the mood in the camp is a lot better going into their first match against the Sharks on the 26th of February at the stadium behind me. CS Duplessis, CCTV, Port Elizabeth.
The Me Rad race has made its debut in Africa. Lagos residents in Nigeria were the first to take part in this colourful and fun race.
A different kind of race. It's not competitive and neither is it timed. It's all about fun and it's simply meant to be enjoyable. It's the first ever Me Rad race in Africa. Participants start out in clean, often white clothes, and a kilometer later, they start being coated in a rainbow of colors. In the Lagos edition though, the race had only 4 color stations: yellow, green, pink and blue.
We need more of this, and you could see how excited people are listening us walking along the street. So interesting, yeah. We want more of this.
It's electrifying. It's awesome, man. Radical, crazy, exciting. You know, I feel happy. I feel cool. I feel colorful. I'm in Niger.
The 5-kilometer race is loosely based on the Hindu festival of color, also known as Holi. In Nigeria, it was organized by the Lagos branch of the Alliance Française.
We wanted to show that everything is possible in Lagos, so that's nice for the image of the country. And second, we work for education, so we see education is the key of the nation.
Running in the spray of bright colors, participants are expected to have as much fun as they possibly can, and as they come to the finish line, they are covered in a final wash of color. Me Rad plans to increase race numbers in Lagos, aiming at over 2,000 people next year. Leslie Murungu, CCTV.
And that is where we leave it for this edition of Matchpoint. Now remember, you can send your feedback to matchpoint@cctv.com. Visit our Facebook page, CCTV Africa, or stay in touch via Twitter, our handle @CCTV News Africa. From the team here in Nairobi, thanks for watching. We leave you now with our move of the week.